Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit TRE.radio.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests. Viewpoint.
It is Tuesday, the 4th of November. Welcome to Viewpoint, Talk Radio's current affairs programme, with a panel of invited guests discussing the issues of the day. The issues can be local, national, international, whatever you want to get your thinking caps on. If you want to have a rant about something, if you want to put something out there to discuss, then these are indeed the numbers to get involved with your particular viewpoint rant.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Before we get going, let's have a look at the front
Great
pages.
savings on all Nessun products at Mikolchon. Up to 24 months interest-free. No hidden fees. Proud sponsors of the international news headlines on TRE. Mikolchon for a great night's sleep.
Yes, indeed. Good morning to Richard. Rants, don't encourage them. Oh, come on. Right then, looking at the front pages of the papers today, a lot of it is looking obviously on the shocking attacks on the trains in the UK, and people have been making political capital from it. Many of the front pages focus, however, on speculation that Chancellor Rachel Reeves is preparing to increase income tax in this month's budget, The Guardian says Reeves is expected to lay the groundwork when she makes a speech at Downing Street this morning, adding she's going to be candid about the choices ahead. The Daily Telegraph says the Chancellor is expected to say she's taking the necessary steps to fix public finances for years to come. Financial Times says that Labour MPs are now resigned to Rachel Reeves breaking the party's election manifesto promise not to raise income tax, national insurance or VAT. It adds that the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, heightened speculation when he told Labour MPs the budget would reject austerity. Reef softens us up for tax betrayal, says the Daily Mail. The investigation into the mass stabbing on a train travelling between Doncaster and London on Saturday continues to feature prominently on most of the papers. The Daily Mirror's front page focuses on the bravery displayed by some of those on board the train who intervened, including a passenger, with headline "Heroes of the Train Horror." Daily Telegraph says it's seen a whistleblowing memo accusing the BBC of editing a speech by Donald Trump to make it appear he had encouraged the 2021 Capitol riots. The claims relates to an edition of Panorama shown last year. The concerns were raised in a 19-page dossier written by a former independent external advisor to the corporation's editorial guidelines and standards committee. In a statement, the BBC said it did not comment on leaked documents, but added that when the corporation received feedback, it took it seriously. The Times reports that the government is to scrap the English Baccalaureate, a performance measure used by schools in England that tracks pupil attainment in core GCSE subjects. As part of the changes, the paper says schools will also no longer be assessed on the number of pupils taking modern foreign languages. And as David Beckham prepares to receive his knighthood at Windsor Castle today, the Daily Mail says his wife Victoria has made his suit for the occasion. Suit you, sir, is the headline. Well, that's original. Right, Daily Express. Police probe 3 incidents before train attack. This is a Huntington knife suspect. Anthony Williams is remanded in custody. 3 missed chances to stop train knifeman, says the Metro. The Times, police failed to catch rail suspect a day earlier. The Independent, train stab suspect could be linked to a string of attacks. The Mirror, heroes of the train horror. Bravery saves many lives. The Daily Star has got a profile on hero football fan Stephen Crean. I grabbed his knife. Attacker said, "Do you want to die?" Financial Times, Starmer signals tough but fair budget will opt for higher taxes over austerity. Meanwhile, The Guardian, Reeves pays way for tax-raising budget with tough choices talk. The Daily Mail leaves us with Reeves softens us up for tax betrayal. The Eye, Reeves bids to win over voters on big tax hikes as make or break budget looms. The Daily Telegraph goes with BBC's Trump bias exposed in memo leak, and those, for better or worse, are your headlines on this Tuesday, the 4th of November. Should you wish to get involved with the show, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
And I'm joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. Andres, good morning to you.
Good morning, Giles. Good morning.
And may I say how dapper you're looking this morning?
I'm looking dapper, yes.
Yes.
I always do.
Yeah, I mean, I look like I just stepped out the back of a homeless shelter.
Unfortunately, radio doesn't show how well dressed I am.
This is why there's a very good reason for that, because that's why we don't have the TV up and working as the Giles cam, the Viewpoint cam, because you'd see that I look like I should be saying, dame 22 or have you got any change there or whatever. All good?
All very good.
Yes,
all very good.
Right then. So go on.
I was very interested in the speech that Rachel Reeves gave this morning. I could only, because I had to come here, I could only watch the first 10-15 minutes of it. Basically, I think everyone was expecting some kind of announcement. And I think all she's done is just set the scene for what appears will be a tax hike in the coming budget, which made me think the quandrum that all governments face these days, especially in Western Europe, right, where we have a welfare state, where they seem to have a choice of putting taxes higher, or reducing services. So all countries with a welfare state, they have the same problem. On one side, if you raise taxes, you are at a point where you are impoverishing, especially middle classes, because I think we are at a point where you can't raise taxes anymore. We are taxed to the fullness as we are at the moment. Right. On the other side, you have got public services that you cannot cut because we are expecting to have those services. And if you cut them, you become very, very unpopular. So you become unpopular if you raise the taxes and risk impoverishing people. You become unpopular if you cut the services because we're expecting those services. So the solution that we've seen in the last decades has been borrowing. Right. But borrowing gets to a point where you can't borrow anymore because we're in a situation where we are paying credit cards with credit cards. That bill keeps growing and growing and growing. We're just paying huge amounts of interest. So the money we pay in taxes don't go to provide better services. They go to pay the interest of the borrowing. So all governments, not only the British government, as we've seen today, but all governments have got that situation. You saw Reform, for instance, announcing big tax cuts with raising the threshold and everything else. They had to scrap that because, obviously, when you do the sums, they don't add up in order to be able to provide the services we're accustomed to. So we want good healthcare, we want good schooling, education system, we've got good infrastructures, and those services keep growing because now we are in need of a mental health service that is very much needed. You need support for working families with children, so you need placement for kids to go to kindergarten and everything else. So the services the state provides keep growing, but you cannot raise more money because there's no margin to raise more taxes. We are taxed to the fullness. When we consume, we pay taxes. When we turn on the electricity, we pay taxes. When we go to work and get paid, we pay taxes. We continuously pay taxes. So I don't think they've got much room to do much on that side of things, because if you raise them too much, you're impoverishing people, which means that the economy will suffer. And relying on the growth of the economy is just a little bit of pie in the sky, if you ask me, because to be able to raise enough money on growth, you need to be growing at a rate of 8, 9, 10%.
Right.
And we haven't seen that kind of growth since the 60s, at least in Spain. So we are growing at rates of, let's say, between 0.5 to 3%, which is what we grew in Spain last year, for instance. But that's not enough growth to be able to cover the shortfall, and just to rely on people paying more taxes is not going to work. It's not going to help the economy. The economy would be better off by reducing taxes. Everybody knows that. But on the other hand, everyone is expecting to have very good services. So Rachel Reeves is in a very difficult situation, like any government would be. I mean, what we've seen today in the speech is just blame the Tories, brush off a little bit Brexit, blaming a little bit Brexit, but without going all in, and just basically blame the Tories. That's not a way forward.
She's on a hiding to nothing anyway, because I mean, she's saying she's going to do what's necessary, not what's not popular. And obviously, you can imagine that the tabloids or the British press are going to go, you see, there's a U-turn, they're breaking the manifesto promises. But the problem is that you could argue that you need your government to be nimble as well. So rather than just going, we're going to stick this manifesto and we're not going to change it, and therefore, even if the circumstances change, we're going to, it's almost, it's like the Dead Sea bleeding scrolls. It's cast in stone. We will not change, and therefore, that's that you're on a hiding to nothing, as we say in the UK, if you don't change your stuff.
The problem with manifestos is that manifestos are designed to gain voters. And in there, you just put things that will attract voters to vote for you. Yeah. So you say, we're not going to raise taxes. That it's, even other parties that say, not only we're not going to increase them, but we're going to reduce them. When they face the reality of governing, is when they realize that, you're going to need money to provide all those services, because the other option is to cut them. Just save money by cutting them. And they also know that that's not popular. So it's just a circle where we're not getting out of that circle. And to be brave enough to say to the people before an election, this is what we're going to do, really, it might not help them to win the election. But I mean, this Labour government in the UK, for what I've seen, don't forget I live in Spain and my news feed comes from Spanish sources mainly. Yeah. But what I saw is that the first thing they did when they won the election is, and people were very excited, there was a big majority and there was a change from the 14 years of Tory government. Yeah. And they everyone seemed quite excited about the prospect of having a new government. The first thing they said, things are really bad. This is going to get worse. And you think, why are you doing that? You just got in there, tried to have a little bit of, positivity.
If you walked into a new house and found there was something unspeakable in the basement, you didn't need to just,
but at that point,
the septic tank had backed up or something like that.
But at that point, they hadn't gone to the basement. They just moved into the house, And you have to sort of give a little bit of positivity. And then the next thing, just to raise the social security, that didn't help employers, didn't help the employment situation. So they have been, in my opinion, I know that some of your listeners will probably disagree with me, which is fine, but I think they had enough time to be able to prepare their entrance and the first few months more positively than what they've done.
Here's some bits and bits. Morning to Jay. How about a wealth tax? How about a mansion tax? How about taxing the energy companies and large retailers who make billions in profit? Aha. So therefore.
There you go. Just look. Yeah, okay. It's a very easy way out. Tax the rich. Yeah, of course, the tax is progressive in all of these countries anyway. So, I mean, a person earning 20 grand a year and a person earning $1 million a year, they don't pay the same rate of tax. Of course, it goes up, it's progressive, so they're paying more. You cannot punish people for being successful. And taking away all the success. I mean,
But you can but however, a mansion tax, for example, if you are the Duke of Westminster, it's not because you've been successful, because you come from a long line of robber barons.
That's
stand on my soapbox and start seeing.
We're going on to another. We're going on to another subject there. But I mean, you've got situations for a family member, for instance, who works for a big corporation and he's got a promotion in his work. He's not that happy about the promotion because it means that he goes into the next rate of tax. So in real terms, he's going to have more work, more responsibility, but more or less the same amount of money because all the salary increase goes on to paying tax. That's not, and that's not fair, if you like. But it's very easy to say tax the rich, but the rich are already being taxed. Corporations, they're businesses. They need to make a profit, otherwise they're not going to provide, the services. So there's got to be a balance there on how much tax you pay and how much you encourage people to go into business and to do well. So you cannot discourage people from that. And also you don't want to discourage people from staying in a country and taking the capital away from the country and moving it elsewhere, which there is a danger of that as well. So it's difficult for a government to balance all those things, and I feel for them, really. I mean, I saw Rachel Reeves this morning. I saw her face and I thought, oh my God, this woman is really scared of what's coming. But there is, the reality is it's that the quandrum is the one that I presented. They said, which route do you take? Do you take the route of cutting services? Do you take the route of taxing people more? And at the end of the day, the majority of the people who are middle class are the ones who suffer more the tax rises.
Looking at some of the things coming in. Good morning to Richard, who said, why does Andres think that? Excuse me, I'm having a sneezing fit. Why does Andreas think there should be a fiscal race to the bottom? UK is not taxed to the fullest. Utter nonsense. Andreas should explain why countries that are taxed the most have the happiest inhabitants. People want such services for free. They want better X, Y, and Z, but they don't want to pay for it. Rachel Reeves had just rejoined the single market for an instant 4% GDP lift. Manifestos are merely snapshots of a point in time. Why should any part be fixed to such restrictions? Much like Brexit and the point of stating it was the will of the people, should we be restrained for something said almost a decade ago? Would a millionaire miss 10% of their wealth? I know many millionaires and billionaires from my previous life, and they're some of the most miserable people on earth. There was the old saying, yes, but at least you can cry on your Ferrari. Now, looking at your headlines. Morning to you. Good, we've got a caller. And morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, hi, Giles. It's John in Meehouse.
Morning, John.
It's just an interesting point on mansion tax. I mean, it sounds such a wonderful thing to make people pay more money if they've got a big house. Because you've got a big house doesn't mean to say you've got a big income. For example, like if somebody, a rich person dies and leaves a widow, the widow continues living in the mansion, but she might only have a very small income. So that's not entirely as fair as it might seem. And on the other one, I was talking to my son the other day, and one of the suggestions in the UK is that they're going to increase the council tax bands. So it means that people from F to H they'll increase it to double what they're paying now. And my son said, I think he said, it's something like £300 a month more that he would have to pay. And at the moment, because of divorce and whatever, he's not actually working and earning any money. So it's easy to say you can raise taxes, but to make it fair is almost impossible.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks very much for the call in there. 952784000. Andreas, you were about to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, if you've got a big house or a mansion house, you have paid tax to get to that house. You know, you obviously normally would have a higher income. That income gets taxed. Then when you buy the house, you pay your stamp duty that goes up as the prices of the property progress. So you said, they have to pay more. Yeah, but at the same time, you don't want to discourage people from doing well. And there is a danger of that.
Yeah, but I mean, I get what you're saying with that one as well, in terms of you don't want to discourage from people doing well.
I mean, it's very simplistic to say, a very rich person won't miss another 10% of their income. Okay, they might not miss it, but why should they? Why should they pay it just because they got more? So it's just like it's punishing the success, you know. It has to be proportionate.
Okay, well, I mean, here's devil's avocado for you. Then, I mean, just by having a lot of millionaires in your town, do you say that has a trickle down effect on economics? Do you think that there is a trickle down, or should we be encouraging stuff from base up?
I don't get that. How can...
Well, the people sort of say, if you got, we've got too many millionaires living, they say there should be. So people said, if you tax the millionaires, they'll leave the UK, they'll leave London. Okay.
There is a danger of that, yes.
Yeah, but do you think that is not? We are saying to ourselves, yes, but by having millionaires in London or whatever city it is, that creates jobs for people because they're millionaires and they need the services. Should we not be encouraging people from sort of the other way up by offering them more incentives to start businesses, etc.?
Of course, yeah. You want to encourage people, to everyone to be as productive as they can be. Yeah. If you're going to tax them to death, though, you might disencourage people from doing certain things, from opening a business, for instance, or progressing in the career, job progression. So you don't want to disincentivize people. You want to do the opposite. And I don't think there is more room to raise taxes in the economy, because you are risking to impoverish the middle classes, which are the bulk of the income.
If you want to get your viewpoint across, these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Those are the numbers if you want to get involved. It's simple to say the council taxes should be rebranded, given they're still on 1991 rates in the UK. How are the new builds from this century accurately taxed if they're set with 1991 rates? What is Elon Musk going to do with another billion? What the UK should do is have a one-off annual tax for the ultra-high net worth, say £500,000 flat rate, to encourage them to stay. Andres is pretty much on the money with his budget comments. I've heard that 2p on income tax and 2p off national insurance may well raise funds, neutralising effects on working people, but attracting tax from those who aren't working. That's from Ian. Morning, caller. You're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Morning, Giles.
Morning,
Andreas.
Morning. Right, morning.
Just thought I'd get in early.
Go for it, Alf.
So, Andreas, I'm not really sure what news you watch, or if it's Spanish news. I watched some of that and I understand it. But the Labour Party, when they came into power, didn't go, look at this mess, look at, what they actually said when they opened the front door of the house is, we didn't realise it was in this much of a mess. So they knew it was a mess because they'd been saying for 2 years that the economy was in a mess. And when they got in there, they said,
wow, this is even bigger than we thought. And however they do it, I'm not into all that financial stuff. I'm sure someone like Peter will come in and explain it all to everybody. But when they go, the 20 million black hole was 30 million black hole, and then it was 10 million black hole, and they argued. All I know is that they just said, we ain't got no money. Now, for anybody who lives in a democracy, what you understand from that is there's no money in the coffers. You just go back to basic home economy. If there's no money in the tea caddy to buy food for the kids, then there's no money. So you have to scratch around to get money in order to feed the kids, which is exactly where the Labour Party is now. And yes, they may have chosen to do a few things differently to the Tories, but not any different. And the fact is, because I think you mentioned it at least 3 times, Andreas, middle classes. Well, I happen to believe that the class structure finished many years ago, and people don't even understand that. What is working class? What is poor class? What is working class? What's middle class? And it's about people who aspire. It's not about the people who are wealthy enough that. What is it they've just said? We're going into a problem. The rich people can survive it. They might have to cut back on a few things, a few foreign jaunts or whatever it is they do, but they can get by, fairly well relaxed. Then there's the, in your terms, upper middle class, the people who are still aspiring people for their family, not necessarily themselves, who also have enough money that they've got a bit set aside so that, if push comes to shove, they can go into their savings and still survive at a level, a sustainable level that they've been used to. And then there's middle class, who are really upper working class, people who've worked all their lives, can just about, you afford to put a bit away, but it's to pay for the kids' holidays next year, or to save up to buy a new car, or whatever it is. So they're the ones who most times in the economy are affected the worst. And then you have all the rest, all these people who can't get jobs, who can't work, who do jobs that pay you next to nothing. And so middle classes are only people who work, who have worked, who have got some sort of an income from their personal money. So we should stop talking about this. Spain is just the same, isn't it? You look at Spain and you go, well, I live on the Costa del Sol, and you're quite right, I live in a house. I pay the same IBI as someone living who's, I don't know, my mate, he's a multi-millionaire, he lives in an house not too dissimilar to mine, but he pays no more tax than I do. And that's because the taxes are based on what supposedly you use locally, and supposedly to assist others who can't necessarily afford what you can afford. So EB and council taxes, you should set it aside because it's there for a different reason. However, national tax is the issue, and what they should do with national tax. And you kept saying about they tax these people, and you go, I'm a pensioner. I've been a pensioner for nearly 10 years, and I pay tax as a pensioner, and have done for the last 10 years. So if I can afford it as a pensioner, and I might add, remember I retired early, my pension aren't as big as most other people, but I chose that life, I chose that lifestyle, I chose how to do it. What I don't expect is for somebody to come along and say, yeah, you chose that lifestyle, but now we're going to change it. No different to Brexit. When they come along and they go, you chose to move to Spain, now we're going to kick you to death because you chose to. And it wasn't like that, and it's never been like that, and trade unions ain't like that, and people aren't like that. They say, well, your expectation was this based on the rules that existed at the time that you moved, and therefore we're gonna ring fence them, and you can stay at that level. But everybody else has got to apply by the new rules. And if you look in the UK specifically, it was about company pensions, changing company pensions, and we ring fenced people who had an existing pension, and as much as it was wrong, at least when the new people coming in, they knew what their employers were offering them, and they could choose whether to work for them or not. Yeah. Whereas if you are employed, or if you are in a property, or if you've got it, and John was technically right. You live in a property based, and the argument was, and it was the Tories, right? It was Tebbit and his co. It's like if you are married and you've got a big family, 3 or 4 kids, and you live in a fairly big house. Yeah. And everybody leaves and everybody dies and you're left in that house on your own, sell the house and downsize. And you say that to people who are 70 plus, who lived all their lives in that property. Right. That was what was wrong. They're trying to force people to downsize, to move, because they want the properties rather than building new properties. They want that property so that they can give it to another big family. And you, as an individual, you go and move in a nanny flat or whatever it is. It's the way the country manipulates people, tries to manipulate people, that you have to watch for and what you have to look out for.
I've got some more bits and pieces coming in, so I'll speak to you a bit later. 952 78 4000. Quick break and then back for more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. If you want to get your viewpoint across, then these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Right, some comments coming in. Comments coming in. Rick says, I try not to be political, but Rachel Reeves, take some responsibility. Stop blaming anything and everyone else. Please get someone in as Chancellor who actually has run a business and some actual experience in growing an economy. Tax is not the answer. Camilla says, who Rachel Reeves blames? The Tories? Liz Truss's mini budget, Brexit, global headwinds, Trump's tariffs, austerity, the war in Ukraine. Who voters blame? Rachel Reeves. More Dan's come up with damning incitement of the state of the British economy there from Rachel Reeves. When she catches up with whoever's responsible for managing the economy, there'll be hell to pay. Very good indeed. Kenneth said, I'm not sure that I've ever heard someone talk so much without saying anything as Rachel Reeves just did this morning. So this one is there was when she catches up with whoever's running the economy, there'll be hell to pay.
It was funny because that's what I thought. I said she's blaming everybody, and said in a minute she's going to blame Rajoy, which was a former prime minister in Spain.
We couldn't go away with it if it wasn't for the you damn kid, you darn kids, etc. As they used to say in Scooby-Doo. Right, let's looking at some other bits and pieces coming in. Morning, Giles. The UK should stop offshore tax avoidance. Thank you very much indeed, Steve. If Rachel Reeves is not the answer, who is? Nigel Farage and his goons? Well, I mean, there's a whole raft of ideas with that one. But yes, it's interesting to see what is coming in via Rachel. I just think this run up to the budget. I mean, in terms of being described as a rabbit in the headlights this morning again, and this whole situation, I think, this budget will come out. She'll get roundly pounded by or she'll be roundly sort of set upon by by the Mail, the Express, by all the Telegraph, all the usual suspects, and then pretty much like Sir Keir Starmer, I think she'll be gone by the time we get around to the next Labour conference. Because it seems that this is the government that went in with all these high sort of promises in the whole situation, and they may have found a gaping hole in the system. But there has to get.
It seems obvious to me. What it seems obvious to me.
Fireworks night till tomorrow, and just don't go off like a Roman candle like that, for goodness sake. touch paper and retire.
No, what it seems obvious to me is that they had to sit down and they looked at the situation and they said, look, what route do we take here? Do we borrow more money? What are we going to do? And the government decision, and I include Starmer here, not only the Chancellor, is that we're going to have to put taxes up. That's the route that we are going to take as a government. We're going to raise taxes. But hold on a second. Someone probably not going to say, hold on a second. The manifesto says that we're not going to do that. So we need to somehow justify what we are going to do in a couple of weeks' time, 2 or 3 weeks' time. So what happens here is that we need to sort of tell people what's coming, and that was the performance today was an excuse, a pre-excuse to what's coming. So they had to justify it somehow. And the way they've justified it, the 20 minutes or 15 minutes that I saw, was blame everybody else. It's not our fault. This is what we found. The Tories are Tories are Tories. A little bit of Brexit, just to throw in there. Liz Truss. These, that and the other. So it's not our fault. We are doing it because of what you had there before. And when is cut-off point for a government to stop blaming the previous government? It should be, 3 months, 6 months. But they've been now over a year, and we're still blaming the previous government. I mean, it looks a bit like Sanchez, that he's been in government for nearly 8 years and still blames Rajoy. 8 years, the policies that he, did 8 years ago. And just keeps, this cannot go. There's got to be a cut-off point where you cannot blame the previous government and you have to take responsibility for your own actions.
952 78 4000. The phone number, studio@tre.radio, is the email. The Facebook page is Talk Radio Europe Official. The UK will never stop tax avoidance. It's what they specialise in, and all those overseas territories that have the Union Jack on their flags. Flip the manifesto, he says Richard, in capitals. At least a decade of a something, and Andres wants to start miracles. Okay, wants instant miracles, excuse me. 952 78 4000. Going to take another quick break and then back with more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. If you want to get your viewpoint across, it can be local, national, or international. These are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Now then, looking at last week, we were talking about the 1 year anniversary of the Dana, the horrendous floods that took over 220 lives in Valencia. And we were talking about this famous, or this infamous leader of the Valencian region, Carles Mazón, and the lunch that he had, and the walking female journalists to underground car parks and going missing when he should have been there. And we were just discussing on how if this wouldn't have sort of. We didn't say, I was going to say this wouldn't have held up in the UK sort of thing, or we hoped it wouldn't do. And I'm not saying that we've got any power.
I think after our programme, Giles, the man had no option but to resign.
Because he did yesterday, didn't he? He went yesterday.
He did, yeah. He finally, after a year of everyone asking him to resign, he resigned yesterday. He's going to because they've got a majority in the regional parliament, the Conservative Party, they're going to choose a new leader of the region, and hopefully they can vote him in, and he will replace him as a leader without the need of calling for a general election. But there's always a but in politics, isn't it? Yeah. It has to be supported by Vox. And we don't know what Vox will do, whether they will support this new person to be the leader, whoever they choose, or Vox will just say, okay, we're not supporting it, we're going to an election. Either way, we are in the hands of Vox in this particular case, and see what they finally decide should be done. To be honest, I think the Vox are going to sort of measure up their options if there is an election. Do they need more time to gather more pace, or is that enough? What they've done so far to perhaps grow the vote base. We don't know. We'll see in the next few days. It's not going to take too long, because I think they've got 2 weeks to propose someone, and they've got another 2 or 3 weeks to sort of vote him in or not. So we will soon know whether there is an election for the region or not. So the truth is that the man yesterday in his speech said, I've had enough, I'm going. Why didn't he say that a year ago, when it was obvious that he had failed to be where he had to be? To have on the worst disaster in history, natural disaster, to be disappeared for nearly 4 hours at a lunch break with a journalist, and not explaining what actually happened during those 4 hours is opened up a lot of speculation. People thinking, was he having an affair? Had he been drinking too much and he couldn't go back to the office? All sorts of speculations. We still don't know what happened. The speculations keep there, but at least the man is stepped aside, finally, a year too late, but we've got that situation. And as I say, what the future holds in terms of politics, we don't know. As I said, we're in the hands of the decision the Vox will take, whether to support it or not. But in the meantime, there is many affected people. They're still waiting for the help, the financial help that they were promised that would arrive, and it hasn't arrived just yet. And also they have problems with something I didn't know, but they also have big problems with insurance companies that they're not paying up, and they're delaying payments and so on.
That's just the way. I mean, that's the sort of thing you could. We do respect. Oh well, you didn't fill the right format, or that's not winging. I mean, it could be that way, or they need more reports from technical people, or whatever, or assess exactly the amount of money they have to pay. Whatever it is not getting through. People will need the money. I mean,
they need the money, and the thing is, it was promised from day one, from both the regional government and the central government, that the help will be fluid and it will get to people quickly, and that hasn't happened. But that tends to happen with natural disasters like that, where they promise we're going to put so much money towards it and we're going to help everyone and everything, and then when it comes to the crunch, there's delays and people don't get the help that they promised they would get.
He went. Mathon went to the demonstrations to mark, or the occasions to mark the 1 year anniversary of this.
It was a state funeral, was called. Yes. It's called, and it happened a few days ago. And I think that would triggered him to resign, because during the funeral, people were shouting at him inside the venue. Yeah. It wasn't a cathedral; it was a
public space.
It's a public space.
Celebraciones, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. And there was all the government there and all the dignitaries and everything else. The king was there as well.
Right.
And the families of the deceased in the tragedy, they shouted at him, and because of the venue, that resounded so much when they calling him all sorts of names. You know, he's a rat and a murderer and all sorts of things, and it's resounded so much, and in the silence of the occasion, that I think that was quite chilling, actually. If I watched it and I thought, wow, I wouldn't like to be at the end of that situation in front of everybody, including the king. Just to be insulted that way is just probably what he said. You know.
Just quickly, refresh my memory. Didn't the king and queen get insulted when they went the first? Was that a while back?
Well, what happened there is that just after in the aftermath of the thing.
I am right in my timeline, answer. They
went the day after, or 2 days after. The king and the queen went there with the prime minister.
Yeah.
And they were heckled by people saying, "Oh, we don't have the help," and everything else. They were throwing mud at them and everything. The prime minister, the security team of the prime minister, whisked him away to the security car and drove away. Yeah. But the king and queen stayed there and started talking to people, coming down and saying that they will do whatever they can to help and everything else. So it was It was an image that stayed in the public memory that to say. The politicians ran. Yeah, the politicians ran, and the king stayed. Although they were covered in mud, you see the Queen covered in mud and everything. But still talking to people and trying to sort of be with them and everything. So it was very visual to see the difference between the reaction of the politicians who drove away, covered by the security people, and the king, which against the security staff recommendation, he decided to stay. So it was quite I don't know if that was genuine or not. It seems to me, for what I saw on TV, there was a genuine decision for him to say, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to keep I'm going to keep my face, even if it's full of mud, to be with the people. And not only that, but thereafter he went to the control centres on a number of occasions, dressed in military gear, to be on top of the king. The king went there on the control centre to see how things were progressing, and it took what it seemed to the public a genuine interest in what was happening there.
Yeah, sure, okay. Look also the Maribel Villaplana, who is the journalist.
It does the journalist who was having lunch with the president.
But she was having to give. She was talking to one of the judges who's investigating this thing.
Well, the judge called her.
Leave her alone. He was texting her and the whole. I mean, this is real. Oh.
Yeah, it's quite cringy actually. She was the journalist that was at the lunch, this 4-hour lunch with the president during that time. That's what it started all the speculation. If he'd been a man, there would have been less speculation. But because it was a woman, all sorts of social media, conspiracy things appeared. She was called as a witness in front of the judge. Don't forget, if you're a defendant in Spain, you can lie to the judge in your own defence, but if you're a witness, you're obliged to tell the truth.
So that's all right then.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, a witness is very important. So she had to say what happened, and there was things that were a little bit cringy, when the fact that he was texting at night saying, don't say that I was there, I don't want to be, get involved in all the media attention and everything else, all a little bit.
That worked well, didn't it?
Well, I mean, the thing is that when we're talking a catastrophe where more than 220 people died, to be worrying about whether your name will be in the papers or not is just not sensitive enough to get public sympathy.
Here's the thing, and Richard is saying it's got a decent question here. Has Carlos Mazon said he's calling a snap election, or is he quitting his seat in the regional assembly, which would end his parliamentary immunity?
No, here's the situation. He steps down, so the parliament will have to decide on who is the next president. Now, his intention is to remain as a member of that parliament. So if he remains a member of the parliament, it's not immune. Is that he can only be tried by the Supreme Court. He doesn't have to go through the regional audience. And then it has to go straight to the Supreme Court. Of course, that buys him time. That doesn't mean that he's immune to anything. He will be tried, and if he's guilty, he'll be, sentenced to that effect. But means that there is a delay on when he will be tried because the Supreme Court has got their timing, and so means that it's basically buying time by doing that. But it doesn't mean that they're immune to anything. They'll be tried, and if guilty, they'll pay for it.
Yeah, it's going to be very well. I mean, he's at least he has finally sort of gone in. Do you think it's going to? I mean, do you think the Partido Popular should have been more decisive? I mean, Feijó seems to be, a very, very. I mean, he makes John Major look incisive and look like Superman. I mean, this guy is completely transparent.
Look, I said the other day, the Partido Popular, the Conservative Party, they've got an open goal and they managed to kick the ball out. And this is one of the examples. They should have been firm and say, look, you weren't where you're supposed to be, you're an elected president, and you during the time of service, you have to be committed to your job 100%, and you weren't, and that was exceptional circumstances. You need to step down, and we're not going to support you. They didn't do that. They sort of kind of supported him, sort of mildly, and they're just saying, oh, he's gonna work very hard on the reconstruction of the area, but that wasn't good enough. And now that it's come to a point where they had to resign, now is when they're saying, yeah, he has to go. A bit too late. They haven't managed that situation very, very well.
And not only that, to take your football analogy and even further, you not only have they sort of like dribbled backwards from an open goal, but they're on the subs bench. Is Santiago Abascal warming up, going, me, get me on the pitch.
I'll score the goal. Totally. That's a very good analogy there with that. Oh, well done, Giles. Yeah, I know you got the credit on that one. But yeah, this is true. I mean, Abascal is on the subs bench saying, I'm your man. A little bit what Farage is doing in the UK. Here I'm your man in the bench. That sort of just get me on and I'll do it. Problem with these guys, these populist parties, is my fear is that outside the headline, there's very little depth. And I'd like to see where they stand on many other policies that they will have to take care of if they arrive to government. Abascal is one that, is very good at grabbing headlines. Farage is very good at grabbing headlines. But is there any depth in the parties?
Detail in the broad
the details and the things, the boring sides of what governing means. Will they be good enough to do that sort of job as well? Because governing is not only headlines. There's a lot of detail in policy and how you apply it and how you deliver it and so on.
Those bongos mean that we're coming to the end of the first half of Let's Talk. Let's Talk, even Viewpoint even. We'll be back after the national and international news.
Talk Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain.
Discuss, challenge, inform, comment, Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe.
Giles Brown.
Live comment and discussion with studio guests.
Viewpoint.
Always live, always lively. Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo. If you've got something national, international or local you want to get off your chest, and these are the numbers.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Thank you for that, Richard. Breaking post office hero Sir Alan Bates lands a 7-figure Horizon payout. This, of course, is from the post office scandal, which was immortalised in the Post Office versus Mr. Bates, I think it was, wasn't it? That was obviously the name of it. So that's breaking news as well. 952 78 4000 is the phone number. Studio@TRE.radio is the email. Now, Gary, I forgot to get back to you. So Gary's been on as well. One, Beckham's award is long overdue. This is he's going to be getting his it's all right, you don't have to come back on that point. Look at that and look at me. 2, bring back the death penalty. Reference Huntington. We'll come on to this in a minute. 3, nice to see the BBC has been picked up on its bias. When will other outlets, including TRE, be brought to account for its one-sidedness? Thank you, Gary. And also, what's taking so long to get rid of the man in Valencia? That's really the Dana Storm incident. Says we've dealt with number 1. Beckham's award will overdue. Beckham's Sir David Beckham. We should be brought to account for our one-sidedness. I think if we have to be brought to account, I think we should be lots of this. You see, that's the beating people up thing, 40 lashes and a lick of the cat. That's what I was saying. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards. But this. So I mean, I'm not going to go into our one-sidedness, etc. Apart from people that are really shown. But this is the Huntingdon. This stabbing in Huntingdon. And if you look at some of the, I just want to go back to those front pages this morning that I pulled up. A soundboard. Yeah, okay. The Daily. So the Guardian. Here we go. So from the top of my paper pile this morning, we've got thank you very much. Police probe 3 incidents before train attack. 3 missed chances to stop train knife man. Police failed to catch a rail suspect a day earlier. Train sub. Now this guy is obviously this 32-year-old who has been named now. Is it Andrew Davison? He's been named as. He's a gentleman. He's a black gentleman, and the press is saying why couldn't they have caught him earlier? And this is
gentleman.
Well, you know what I mean. Okay, he's a black guy. All right.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at here is saying why couldn't it be stopped? Now I listened to some people last night saying, well, the thing is, if you start doing that, if you'd been apprehended earlier, I mean, if you're not walking around waving a knife, but you think you have a knife on you, that's basically going back to stop and search laws. And obviously, during stop and search, young black men were obviously disproportionately targeted by police forces. Don't look at me like that, Andres. You're starting to worry me. He's looking at me, giving me that sort of like, oh, for goodness sake. But you see where I'm going here is the fact that if you
what you're trying to say is if you're a black man, you're more likely to be stopped and searched.
Listeners, should we be returning to? I'm not caught by the death penalty, but should we at least be bringing back stricter stop and search? Think about knife crime. Is it going to be if you were a young Asian man as well? I mean, for India and Pakistan, Bangladesh, would you be more likely to be stopped and in your view harried and harassed by the police? There you go.
Well, right. You can't stop and search everybody, So, and I believe the rule, and we've got a listener who's an ex-policeman who can help us with that. But I think that they have to have a reasonable reason to stop and search. So you can't just stop and search whoever is walking down the street. So the police need to think that you may pose some kind of danger, whether you're in possession of drugs, or in possession of a knife, or in possession of anything. So yeah, I think there is an element where there has to be a reason for that.
Some of us will remember not the 9 o'clock news, wearing a loud tie in a built-up area, etc., for stopping a black man. Morning, call you live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, hi, it's Johnny Meehan.
I thought you might call in, John.
Yeah, you, John.
Yeah. It's just on this stop and search.
Yeah.
I can remember, it was probably about 1968 or thereabouts, that there was an enormous fuss about black people being stopped as suspects in muggings.
Yeah.
And the commander of Brixton Police Station at the time got so fed up with his criticism, he actually issued some figures. And the figures show that 95% of all muggings were committed by young black men on old white women. 3% were committed by white men, and the 2% they weren't sure about.
Right. Little old ladies having to go back, presumably,
So, unfortunately, at that time, the vast majority of muggings were committed by black people, so therefore, the vast majority of people going to be stopped to see if they had knives or whatever were going to be black people. If they'd been stopping people for, say, bank fraud, probably most of them would have been wearing suits and a collar and a tie.
Sure.
It's just that the police are going to stop the people that they believe, because of their profile, are the ones that are responsible. They're not going to waste their time stopping people just for the fun of it.
I mean, when I got mugged in Brixton, because what are you going to say? I mean, I was mugged by a young black man carrying a knife and with a puffer jacket. And when I gave my response to Brixton, a very fine police force as well, they said, "You're going to have to be a bit more specific than that, sir," because it was it was unfortunately it was a bit par for the course on that one.
Isn't it true, John? That's a question that in order to stop and search, there has to be a reasonable sort of suspicion that they are carrying something or doing something, or can they just stop and search anyone who's any passerby?
I'm not sure now because I've been retired for 38 years, but I'm talking about when I used to stop.
Was it the sus laws, was it, John?
There had to be reasonable grounds to stop the person and suspect they're committing some offence. You couldn't just say, "I'll stop the third one that comes along."
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I mean, certainly here in Spain, you have to have a reason to believe that they're committing a crime somehow, whether carrying drugs or carrying a knife or carrying whatever. So, yeah.
Sure. I mean, one of the problems in England, I was just saying stop and search in my day, I just recalled, when I ever stopped anybody, because I'm 5'8", I always tried to talk my way around whatever the thing was, arresting people or whatever. I tried to always do it politely and courtesy and so on. And if I stopped a black person, I was equally the same. Black people, most of them, used to go stark raving mad, jumping up and down on the pavement, screaming and shouting, and so much so that a lot of policemen just didn't bother to stop black people because they thought it's just too much hassle. And I know you're not supposed to say that.
But you just have, John. So therefore, what am I going to say about it?
I said not supposed to.
Right.
But I mean, I'm going to say I'm 85. You lock me up. I ain't going to spend long in prison.
Right. Fair enough.
And I came from Brixton, as it happens.
John,
I grew up in Brixton.
Yeah, right. Good to hear from you, John, as always, and thanks to the caller. If you apply that logic, I mean, in Spain, I'm just trying to think, because we've had this awful case up in, is it Pamplona, Tarragona, about the student who's by the Algerian males who'd been, the woman's been gang raped, and they found her phone and her. Have you not heard this?
No, I haven't heard about it.
Right. I mean, if you were to sort of do that thing about, in the UK it's got young black men. Over here it would be young men of Maghrebi. You have to be very careful.
You have to look at the stats here. I don't know what the stats are and who's committing more crimes than. Are there any ethnic group that is committing more crimes than others? It seems that in London,
the Swedes seem to be shooting each other in front of the news. Apart from that,
yeah, you can. But I mean, as John said, there was a time when they were more likely. If you were black, you were more likely. Young black person, you're more likely to carry out a crime. So I don't think today would have the same stats because things have moved on. In Spain, I don't know what the stats are. The popular belief is that, yes, North Africans are the ones that commit more crimes. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But they seem to get a lot of now social media attention, and that's linked to the anti-immigration sort of so it's all muddled up there. I like to see some facts and figures to see whether that's true, what nationalities are committing more crimes or not. I get the feeling that it's all this big thing in social media to sort of blame North Africans, but the reality might be something different. But as I said, I don't have the figures. I don't sort of follow in detail who's doing what, apart from the Swedish in Puerto Banús.
Yes, indeed. 952 78 4000. You have to be very careful. Why? Careful for people not to be offended by a fact. If it was a Maghrebi that committed the crime, then there's nothing to be offended by it. Yeah, I know, but the problem is that, it's just very. If you start saying, "Oh well," the problem is that you have to be worried that somebody's going to leap on that on a populist kind of way and go, you see, I told you, all Maghrebis are like this or all that. I mean, or all black people are carrying knives, or all young black men are out to do mischief, etc. Because we went through this whole situation, which led, in no uncertain terms, to the sort of the riots that we saw in Brixton in the late 70s, Toxteth in the early 80s, St. Paul's in the Bristol area in the early 80s as well.
If you got ethnic groups committing more crimes than others, there's got to be a reason behind it. And normally it is social inadequacy that forces some of them to take the route of crime, and that we should look at the route as well and try to prevent that by sort of getting these people more integrated in society, so they can have jobs and they can have, a future ahead of them, rather than just being abandoned by society, so they turn it into crime. But it's a much longer term solution, and it needs a lot of education and resources to go into that. The day-to-day life is that the police have to intervene to prevent the crime, and if the crime has been committed, to apprehend the culprits. And whether they're black, white, or whatever colour they are, as they used to call me in the UK, I wasn't white, I was olive, if that is a colour.
It's an oil, isn't it?
It's just because I was a bit more tanned than everyone else. But anyway, so the law is going to be applied the same to one or the other. So that's what prevails. It's not as if the law will punish more black people or less to white people. It's that the law is the same. So if you commit a crime, you're going to face the same consequences, whoever you are.
Yeah, Mitch has come in this one saying, police missed 3 separate opportunities to prevent the train stabber. His name's Anthony Williams. 14-year-old boy was stabbed in Peterborough on Friday by this guy, Anthony. He was then later seen in a barber shop brandishing a knife. Cambridgeshire police failed to put out any appeals or warnings. And in the early hours of November the 1st, that was on the Saturday then, a man was stabbed at Pontoon Dock on the DLR station in East London. The Met and the British Transport police failed to circulate CCTV or make any appeals for him. That was 3 successive failures. So that does seem to be what on earth going on. But also, this is from Jeff. Sorry, this is Algeria. The picture of Algerian-born Sam Zitouni, the NLER worker who bravely shielded passengers during the Huntington train attack. His actions helped save lives. He's now in hospital with serious injuries. We stand with him. Well, that's, so therefore it's, it just goes to show that these attacks can bring out the worst in people, but at the same time they will also bring out the best of people. 952 78 4000. Just a quick break and then back with some more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint
with
Giles Brown.
Always live, always lively. Joined in the studio by Andres Gallardo today. We're talking about motivation behind these. I mean, unhinged man with a knife.
Yeah, what will be interesting to know when the police reports come out is what kind of motivation this man had to commit such a horrific crime. Whether he was a mental health issue or was a fanatic of some sort that decided to, do that in revenge for who knows what. And that'll be interesting to analyse. You've got, the Islamic fanatics, for instance, they cause chaos all around Europe and other parts of the world, bombing and we've had the cases in Madrid, London, Paris, Brussels, Germany, everywhere. Yeah. And the motivations were religious fanatics. And that, you can monitor a little bit their activity, and we don't hear about it that much, but I'm sure the police dismantle organizations that are preparing to commit crimes all the time, that we don't hear about, but they can work on that. Now, if the motivation is someone with mental health issues and simply is just like a schizophrenic that just gets on a train and starts killing people, that is going to be more difficult to monitor unless we have a good support system for mental health. That's going to be very, very difficult, because to get a knife is fairly easy, to jump on a train is very easy, and to start killing people, as we saw there, or trying to kill people, as we saw in the case of the train, is too easy. And to control that, you don't have a counter-terrorist unit. You don't have a counter-mental health unit, if you like. And perhaps we should be looking at more support of the agencies that provide support for mental health patients, to make sure that they are not, if they're dangerous, they're not wandering about. I'm just assuming that it's a mental health issue. It looks that way to me, but I may be wrong. And then the police comes out with a different motivation and explanation.
I mean, if he's been wandering around for a couple of days, by the looks of things,
surely that should have been spotted, and they should have been pulled aside and said, "What are you doing?" You know, I mean, that's for sure.
I was seeing CCTV footage, which, okay, fair enough. Maybe it's not. Maybe let's have a look at that further on. But still, you think that would at least sort of flag up some sort of response from people, like if this is the problem. The UK is supposed to have more CCTV. The British people are supposed to be the most sort of observed by CCTV than anywhere else on the planet. Okay, but I don't think North Korea can afford CCTV. And yet, so you would think that people go, oh, you see, we're being monitored. It's the biorhythms. You know, I don't want to have an ID card in the UK. They'll find me in seconds. And yet, something like this happens, which is absolutely when you would want. Absolutely, when you would want these systems to work, to go, that man is dangerous. He's carrying a large knife, and it's not a thing. It's a bloody. It's a bleeding grey machete rather than It's not. He's not out with a penknife.
But the question about the cameras is: are they to prevent the crime or to prosecute the crime as evidence? Because. Obviously, preventing the crime hasn't helped there.
Yeah, but you want them to prevent the crime.
You would want them to prevent the crime, but for that you need an awful lot of manpower to monitor every single camera. You said it. There's so many cameras in the UK. How do you monitor them? I think they are used more for prosecuting the crime when you look back at the cameras and say, oh, look, this is the evidence that he stabbed someone because we got it on camera, rather than saying, oh, my God, that guy is just about to commit a crime, send someone to stop him.
Then we're in Minority Report territory, aren't we? As Richard said, we're not so much stop and search as, we think you're going to do this, so therefore we're going to bust you now. It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, but preventing from the camera, I think, is going to be very difficult because you don't have the manpower to do it. I mean, I think that's more for prosecution. What prevents the crime in the case of mental health is that as we have an anti-terrorist units in the police, we don't have anything to prevent episodes like the mental health. Didn't that guy kill someone? Was he in Stockport? They killed some children dancing or something? Wasn't that a mental health case?
I
seem to remember that wasn't that long ago.
No, it was last summer. But the horrendous Stockport murders and
correct. But that was a mental health.
Well, it was hard. I mean, if you go in with, I
haven't followed the case so closely. So correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. Obviously, anybody who's deranged enough to attack a Taylor Swift-themed dance class and kill 3 little girls is obviously deranged. The question is, are they insane, criminally insane, or are they just, this one? I mean, this guy was shouting, "The devil is going to get you," or something along those lines. I mean, at this point, you don't know, do you? That's half the problem. We'll take a quick break and then back on more Viewpoint.
Viewpoint on Talk Radio Europe with Giles Brown.
And it's straight to the lines we go. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yeah, sorry, it's John again.
Hi, John.
When you say this guy should have been stopped, yes, he should have been, ideally. The fact he committed probably 3 offences. But situations are, during that same time, there were probably thousands of criminal offences committed across the United Kingdom. So in hindsight, you can say, he should have been caught. But amongst 1,000 or several thousand, in reality, that's almost an impossibility. That's the first thing. The other thing is, on the TV cameras, watching the footing, if you remember, there was an interview recently with when Kabatu, the guy who shouldn't have been released from prison, was released, and the police in interviews said how many hundreds of hours, police hours, had been spent checking the cameras to find the guy when they knew where he was and basically where he started to go. And they still lost him on the cameras.
Yeah.
So the cameras are not the answer. I mean, they help.
Safe. Yeah.
And obviously in convictions, if you've got a crime committed on a camera, that's marvellous. And just the last one, on the Stockport killings of the 3 little girls, he might have been mental, but he wasn't sufficiently mental to avoid conviction, and he's got a minimum sentence of 52 years.
Yeah, quite right. Well, and again, we will have people saying that should be a capital offence, but thank you for your call in there as well, yeah?
Okay, bye.
We'll get to the other lines we go. Morning, caller. We're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Hi, Giles. It's Alf again.
Alf, yes.
Hi, Andreas. I agree to a certain extent with what Andreas is saying.
Well,
the difficulty is...
need to celebrate that.
Well, you can, but it's nonsense, as you well know, because it'll change very quickly. One of the problems is that we always talk about, how do you stop these things? Well, I'll tell you what, we'll employ 50,000 railway police and put one on every carriage. We'll change the law that says, it's not illegal to kill people. We do all sorts of things. It's not about preventing something happening, is it? Because the chances are you can't prevent it. It's about deterrence. So when John talks about, if he was in Brixton, he knows much of what calmed Brixton down, Tottenham down, the East End of London. We had it, all the time. Black on black, black on Asian, knives, in some cases guns. And I can go back to the Crows and the gangs around East London. It wasn't knives, it was guns. But it was all about deterrence. Unfortunately, what we don't see is how you enforce these things. So the police can do stop and search. And I had a number of black mates at the time when I was younger, and their complaint was never that they were stopped to be searched. Their complaint was that they were innocent people. All right, they're going to be stopped because the average, so certainly in East London, it was like the chances are it was going to be somebody who was black, Afro-Caribbean to be precise, who'd committed a crime. Therefore, you stop. And it went for a period. So for a month, they would stop, lots and lots of black Afro-Caribbean kids, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. It wasn't that they were being stopped. It was the manner in which the policeman who'd stopped them acted with them. John has just highlighted something. He said, well, I'd like to be polite with them and calm down and do all that. And a lot of the police, I would imagine, based on what John said, a policeman walks up to a young black kid of 19, 20, 21, maybe with a group of them, 6, 7, 8 of them just come out of a club, I don't mean a nightclub, but a youth club or something like that, and all of a sudden, and there's never one policeman, there's 2, 3, 4 policemen, or there's 2 coppers in a panda car or whatever, and it was the way that they were dealt with that used to upset. I worked with a guy, and he worked in a nightclub, he was a DJ, and he would be stopped at least once a month coming out from doing his job as a DJ.
Strangely enough, that happens to me all the time, but there you go.
Well, you were a good DJ, though. That's why he was stopped. So everything...
It looks dangerous, though.
Well, yeah, but, okay, here's the classic. So we've now got we've got to stop using these triangles because they're dangerous. You walk out into a road full of fast-moving cars to stick a little triangle that nobody takes any notice of.
Okay.
So you get mown down. So we're going to change it to this emergency light. And now, if you haven't got an emergency light, Andreas will love this. If you haven't got an emergency light in your car, so what are the police going to do? Stop and search every car, make sure they got an emergency light.
Yeah, probably. There'll be a roadblock. There'll be a roadblock in the whole thing.
Absolutely, you'll get your emergency light out.
Right, I propose nothing, Alf, just quickly, and I go completely off that thing. But
yeah, but the deterrence is £200 fine.
Yeah, but
the same as speed cameras, CCTV.
Yeah, but the other thing is they say, and you must get out of the, this is so you don't get out of the car. Well, when we were told such a thing, it was like, get out of the car,
get out of your car, get over the barrier, move as far away from the car. My friend was run over by his own car. Yeah. He got out of his car and walked in front of his car, so he thought he was safe, and the car hit his car up the backside and ran him over.
Exactly. Anyway,
broke his leg.
So meanwhile, back into what we were talking about before. And by the way, thank you for the listeners just told me because I was wrong. It's saying that they were killed in Southport, not Stockport. My mistake. Thank you.
Sorry, mine too. I think
that's how much you know about geography.
Right. Okay. Anyway,
call yourself British.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, so much of what we have is deterrence, isn't it? We have cameras in banks, cameras in supermarkets, cameras in petrol stations, cameras all over this, in Spain, never mind about in the UK. And I don't think the UK is the most, it's London is the place where you've got most CCTV cameras in the world. And it doesn't stop crime now, does it? It doesn't stop the London bullion heist or anything. Doesn't stop people using. I tell you what they use it for: cars using the bus lane, wrongly.
Right. Yeah.
Wow, that's a real offence. That is, isn't it? Anyway, it's about deterrence and not about prevention. And I'm not sure. We pass laws. If you go along, main roads in the UK, they've got all these average speed cameras. Not unlike here, they work. But they work because you can drive, I don't know, from London to Southend on 2 roads. There are average speed cameras, and like 1 month they'll be using them, and for 4 months they won't because they can't afford to sit 2 or 3 or 4 people in an office reviewing the camera footage. So it is just about, but the cameras are there, and you assume that 90% of the people are going to slow down.
It's the thing that
these deterrents that you're talking about work very well when it comes to most law-abiding citizens who are tempted to do something that is not correct, like speeding. You put a speed camera, it's a deterrent. If you're tempted to go over the limit, you don't, because if the camera catches me, I'm going to lose points on my license, I'm going to get a fine and everything else. So that's a deterrent for normal people. In a supermarket, to have a camera is a deterrent for someone who might be tempted to steal an apple, and they think, oh my God, it'd be embarrassing if I get caught stealing an apple. But now we are talking of a different type of crime where it's a much more serious crime, and these deterrents may not.
It's still only other deterrents. Every one of those carriages on that train had CCTV.
Got some more calls coming out.
Didn't stop the geezer from stabbing people, even though he knew he was going to be on a camera.
Going to go to some more calls. Thanks for the call in there.
Okay.
Thanks all. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Is that me, Giles? You
said
calls.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing, Peter?
Calls, plural. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Just a quick point. I think when people talk about the law in the UK and the cameras, I always thought London was in the UK. Maybe it's not.
Okay.
But, because people say that the UK is the most surveilled place, and Alf disagrees and says it's London. But I did think London was in the UK, but never mind. When the police, because there's a massive shortage of police in the UK at the moment, and there's not good incentive for anyone to join the police. Secondly, we don't police the streets anymore. And thirdly, the police are very, very busy because they have to monitor the internet crime. Someone in a football shirt just might send a meme on WhatsApp. So these people have to be dealt with over everybody else at the moment because obviously people are going to prison for that and not paying their TV licenses. So you can realise why the police are on the streets looking for these people running around with knives with balaclavas on, because they have much more important things to do, don't they? The police and the internet.
I don't like to I like people to sort of express their opinions, and I don't get involved in that. That's your opinion. Mine is my opinion, and that's it. But in this particular, case, the people who put memes up and the police are after them and everything else, you might have 1 or 2 cases where they hit the headlines, and the TV cameras have gone there to report it. But the reality is the police are there monitoring real crime in the internet, like people try to just get money from pensioners over the internet, and try to get real crime. I mean, the thing that there is one person who put a meme and is detained by the police, and
you say one.
I don't say there are many. I don't think there are many. I don't think the police are concentrating on that 100%. I think there are there's more crime on the internet where the police are putting their efforts to, and occasionally you might get the odd one where they are prosecuting a meme, but I don't think that is the core of the police work.
It's not an odd one, and you don't, Andreas, you don't get what I'm saying. I'm taking the piss,
I do try.
literally. Right? But what I'm saying is that we do not police like we used to police. You get people come on and talk about the craze, for Christ's sake, 1968 in London. This is a different world we live in at the moment. There is a massive society problem. There's a massive mental health problem. There's a massive homeless and most people aren't homeless. Homeless is normally when you miss your mortgage payments or your rents for a while. These people are desperate and don't know whether they're going to survive the day or not. And then people say, oh, well, what we're going to do about it? We're going to blame the parents. Society is broken, massively broken. And it's beyond fixing. It's collapsing as we see it. And then we're going to turn around and introduce a budget and up everybody's taxes to think that that's going to improve it. It's not. Until we decide to spend money on policing and fixing society, nothing's going to change, is it? This is just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I can remember us having this discussion a long time ago about the shootings in America, and I said that it will go to knives, it will go to cars being used as bombs. And here we are. People just have no hope anymore. And that's not me condoning their actions. What I'm saying is you cannot... Al said, the consequences. What consequences for someone who's been raised in a terrible area with probably their father in prison, their mother's probably a drug addict and a prostitute. The only people they know are the boys on the streets or girls on the streets where they hang about. What are the consequences to saying to some 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old with absolutely no hope whatsoever, never been raised in a proper, what we would call a proper family? What are the consequences? What can you say to that boy or that girl that you mustn't do that? What's going to scare them? Oh, you're going to go to prison, get 3 meals a day and watch television every day. There are no consequences to these people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it works like that.
It does work like that. I guarantee you that guy has mental health issues. Sure. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
And I guarantee he's probably been on drugs or booze or something else for years. And he slipped through the net because the net no longer exists. Because now it's a catch-all and nobody gets caught. The net is not there anymore.
Okay.
Nobody gets
okay, look, earlier on we've been talking about taxes and about how, I understand that the police may be underfunded, and yes, more police are
the country's underfunded.
Are needed. But there are other aspects to the money that we contribute to that also need attention, like infrastructures or health. We need more teachers. We need good teachers that are motivated because they're part of it.
Because the country's broken.
You can't just put all the resources into having more policemen because it has to be an array of investment done.
And if you just spend 1 second listening, Andreas, instead of talking, right?
I do listen a lot.
You can't be listening if you keep interrupting me. You can't be listening, can you?
Ooh, okay.
No, excuse me. I'm listening to you and I'm having a conversation.
You're obviously not, because you're misquoting me and you're missaying what I said.
Please say your point, please. Come on.
Okay, yes, put your point across.
The point is the country needs investment. And it's just running along, getting more and more broke all the time. And you can't invest in a country unless you physically stop blaming others, get on with doing it. It's like when you spoke about taxes. Let's say you're a CEO of a company, you earn $6 million a year.
Right.
People say, tax the rich. That's $6 million a year. If he's paying 45%, he's paying $2.7 million. Someone will correct me on about the £13, but $2.7 million goes to the exchequer. Cut his wages. Take the $6 million. The maximum he can earn is $1 million.
Right.
Take the $5 million. That goes to the profit of the company. Now, his wages now are $1 million, but the profit goes to the company. They pay 20% instead of 45%. So you just cost the exchequer $1.25 million. So taxes don't work like that. What you need to do, the only reason we pay income tax is to service the debt. So stop getting into debt. Build your way out of. Build an infrastructure. Start going on an infrastructure boom. Stop people coming into the country that are not never paid into the country. Right. And of course, there's one or two that are genuine, but most of them are not. And put it this way, next time you go into a pub in a round of drinks and somebody drinks 12 pints and you only drink one, you keep paying their bill. Keep paying their bill.
Got some more calls coming in, Peter, but thank you very much as always. My 52784,000 is the phone number. Morning, caller, you're live on TRE. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your viewpoint, please?
Yes, morning, Giles. It's Gary. Yeah?
Ah, Gary.
Good morning, Andreas. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Good morning.
I've been cutting back me hibiscus and planting out me smoothie knox fluffy floor this morning. So I haven't listened to much of the show. But classic example of what you've just been talking about in the last 10 minutes is that if you see the BBC coverage of this pregnant young girl, Geordie girl, pregnant young Geordie girl
the one
in
Georgia.
Georgia. She was treated, if you listen to it, she was treated like the victim. She's the perpetrator. She's not the victim. She's the perpetrator. Yeah. And as one of your listeners, I only caught little bits in and out, there's no consequences now. But if you listen to that yesterday, I raged at my wife. And I said to her, look at this. I said, and she's just about to have a baby as well. So that don't give much hope to the future. But there's too many perpetrators.
Perpetrators. I like perpetrators. That sounds like something from Dune, doesn't it? The movie House of Perpetrators.
There hasn't been, and I've said it time and time and time again. Yes. I don't know if it's changed. I doubt if it has. But many years ago, about 15, 20 years ago, there was two agencies for the victims in the UK, and there was at least 73 for the criminals, perpetratees,
whoever they are. And Gary, as always, well, good to have you back in from your constant gardening out there and your.
Jones, I hate to say, you want to see more plums.
Anyway, let's on that note, as always. Now then, Cookie, good morning to you. Cookie sent me in something from Factually. How many people were arrested in the UK for social media posts in 2024? Well, according to Factually, it says approximately 12,000 people are arrested annually in the UK. In 2023, specifically, 12,183 people were arrested for sending or posting offensive messages on social media. Police are making 30 arrests per day for offensive online messages. The trend shows significant increases. Arrests have risen by 21% since 2017, and they almost 58% since the pandemic. So there you go. There is it's just there are some sort of, following the Southport killings, near 2,000 people were arrested and more than 1,000 were charged, though not all specifically for social media post. So thank you very much, Cookie, for sending me that in as well. And looking at some other bits and pieces. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Going running back. Opinions are not facts. Ask. What's the solution? 5 on religion, Nigel Farage military service. To 1.25 million is chump change, apparently. And income tax does not service debts. Income tax makes approximately a quarter of UK tax revenue. Thank you for that. The victim get the prodigy on the line, and they'll sing it to her. Okay, fair enough. Looking at some other bits and pieces coming in. Okay, Tommy Robertson has been found not guilty of a terror offence after refusing to tell police the PIN number on his phone. The former leader of the English Defence League was stopped at the Channel Tunnel driving a Bentley with thousands of pounds of cash last year. Seems legit. During his 2-day trial in the middle of October, he claimed Tesla boss Elon Musk had picked up the legal bill. That's just broken on my knees. So there you go. Who had Tommy Robinson in a Bentley? Yeah, in a Bentley with thousands of pounds in cash. I mean, I didn't have that on my bingo card, but there you go. If you want to get involved with Viewpoint, sorry, truth is stranger than fiction. So there you go. If you want to get involved with Viewpoint, these are the numbers at which to vent your spleen.
To contact TRE, please call 952 78 4000. Email studio@tre.radio. Send us a WhatsApp on +34 645 99 67 95. Message us on Facebook, Talk Radio Europe Official, or tweet us at TRE Talk Radio.
Now then, to the WhatsApps we go. This is Paul from the People's Republic of Manilva, Biba Che. Right. Yeah. Meanwhile, listen, all the great revolutions start at the hills, Castro said, and I live in Coeen, so be warned. Says Peter, I previously had many policemen and policewomen as clients. The average Bobby is just an ordinary person who would much rather earn overtime checking someone's Facebook profile than risking their lives, fair enough, putting their family's livelihood at risk by confronting a knife-wielding nutter. Can you blame them? From Peter in Manilva. Parker, yeah, here we go. Tommy Robinson Monopoly. All right. Parker Games. It was Tommy. Oh, it's Cluedo, sorry. It was Tommy in the Bentley. It was Tommy in the Bentley in the Channel Tunnel with a get out of jail free card. Yes, indeed. Thanks for that. That'd be quite good. You know, Tommy, Edie, English Defence League, Cluedo. That's quite good. I used to have Colombian Cluedo, which would be Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar in the games room with the nose flute. Anyway, moving swiftly onwards. Now, I'm going to bring up my peeve now because it's my show and I've had enough. And Andreas is banging his head on the thing as well. I want to talk voila, yes, indeed. Or is that a viola? No, it's voila. No, sorry. No, viola.
Reminds me of the Louvre doors of Del Boy.
Yeah. If I don't even know voila as opposed to viola, I mean, that's not. This could go downhill quicker than getting Pompey Gary pruning his plums or whatever. Right, here's my rant then. It's on my blog. But what is it? Because by this time next week, you know it's about. We're talking about this before. It's about triathletes. All right.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to rant about this. Okay. So because I've said it's called because look. This week, brace yourselves, because if you were missing the traffic chaos, long delays, and general disruption that the summer season has brought upon Marbella, then I've got excellent news for you, because the 2025 Hydro Ironman 7.3 World Championship is set to wreak more havoc on the general public this weekend. The Breathless website proclaims that 6,300 athletes from 114 different countries, including approximately 120 professionals. The athlete field is as diverse as the Andalusian landscape that awaits them in the south of Spain. Not only will Ironman World Championship and Age Group Championships be crowned, but the event also serves in deciding race of blah, blah, blah. The senior vice president said that we are thrilled to be in beautiful Marbella for our grand final. Our theme for the race, Andalusian passion, personally encapsulates the vibrancy, colour and warmth our athletes would experience during their stay in Marbella. We hope they can carry the same passion. On behalf of myself and the Ironman team, we wish everyone an unforgettable race experience. An unforgettable race experience. Well, an unforgettable race experience is exactly what the majority of Marbella residents will be experiencing this weekend. That's for sure. It's a 1.6 mile swim in the Mediterranean, and then they're going up, and the route goes from Banús to the centre of Marbella, and then past the busy shopping centre of La Cañada, past Ojen, Monda, and Coín. It will severely muck up, not my original word, vital transport links for people trying to get to work at the weekend. Not only are buses directed away from the Golden Mile section, but the L79, which connects Marbella to Ojen, Monda, Guarda and Coín, has been cancelled for both the Saturday and the Sunday until 3:30 in the afternoon, and the main Marbella Coín road is closed from 7:30 to all traffic on both days. So, while the powers that be...
Am I guessing you're not too happy about the race?
While the powers that be will try out the usual, this is a high-profile event for the image of Marbella, you are left to wonder how much this competition actually will bring to the area. The recent Davis Cup and paddle tournaments bring high-spending fans who will enjoy the sport and then the restaurants and bars of Marbella. So do the thousands of golfers who regularly input to the economy. But triathlon? Will we see thousands of hardcore triathlon fans lining the streets, cheering on their favourite triathlete? Will they be celebrating late into the night, hitting the clubs and booking hotel rooms? Or will the solitary masochistic athletes take off their streamlined helmets, unzip their Lycra bodysuits, check their PBs, and then head to the airport. Basically, they're going to have a press conference where they're going to talk about stories of overcoming adversity. Well, especially my story, my tale of trying to get down from Coeen next weekend. We're almost out of time. Andreas, sorry about that rant, but I had to get off my viewpoint, off my chest. Andreas, thank you so much for your patience and time today.
Thank you, Giles.
And I will be back tomorrow, as long as the triathletes haven't mugged me on the way out. Thanks for your calls in. This programme will be repeated at 7 o'clock, and Stephen Ritson, not on a triathlete's bike, is up next.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.